So I wanted to tell you just a little bit about how I knew God was calling me, because when I was your age, and then many people I meet, they think like, where did that come from? Or you'll meet little kids who think that you were born a sister, and you're like, no. Like I'm telling stories of like when I'm 8, and they're like, wait, you did that in your habit? I was like, no. So no, we're not born sisters, and we too have to learn how to listen to God's voice, and He works very gently and beautifully in our lives and in our relationships with Him. So I have a beautiful Catholic family, so the faith was part of my life, but I didn't necessarily think I'm going to be a nun from when I was really little. But when I was about your age, I think it was 14, I always think in American high school years, but so as a freshman in high school, I think I was 14, I flew over to France and England actually, with my twin sister. We flew all by our lonesomes, and we visited our aunt and uncle in France. So we were touring around, and we happened to visit St. Catherine Labouraire's little chapel in Paris. She had a vision of Our Lady, the vision of the miraculous medal. Now, I do not know French. I don't know French, but I went. There's these gold words in French over the altar, and I did not know what it said, but I totally experienced this. It said, "Come to the foot of this altar where my grace will be poured upon all." So I did not know what I was getting myself into, but I went and I knelt down on these steps, and as soon as I knelt down right there in front of the altar, I just started crying, and I couldn't explain why, but then I realized I'm gonna give my life to God. I'm gonna be a sister. And then I knew this should make you happy. But then I was crying even more because I was crying, and then I was crying because I was crying. So I was just a mess here, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a sister. I did not say a word to my aunt, but my aunt came up with tissues and she said, "Do you want to talk to a sister?" And I was like, yeah. So I went to this little room with this little French sister, and she says, "Honey, what's the matter?" And I said, "I'm going to be a sister." Meanwhile, I thought I was kidnapped there. Like I was never setting foot outside of this Rudebach place. So I thought I was trapped. I'm going to be a sister. She's like, "Well, honey, that's all right. What did you want to do with your life? What is that?" Well, first of all, she said that it should make you happy. And I was like, I know. So then she's like, "Well, what do you want to do with your life?" And I was like, "I want to be an Air Force pilot." And she's like, "Don't worry, you can be an Air Force pilot, then be a sister. Just go home, stay close to Jesus. Everything's going to be all right." Those words made me very happy because she said, "Go home." But the words "stay close to Jesus" were so important because I knew this was supposed to make me happy. And again, I grew up in a Catholic family, but I did not know Christ enough myself for this insight to actually make me joy-filled. So through my high school years, the Lord really taught me to grow in relationship with Him. So I grew in prayer, and grew in going to Mass more than once a week, and then grew in adoration, just like we had last night. So all through high school, the Lord was stretching me, and that was getting more and more comfortable to me. By the time I was a senior in high school, so that would be 18, I made this resolution, and I thought, wow, if I'm really serious about knowing God, I would actually pray every day, not just like an hour on Saturday adoration, an hour on Wednesday adoration. So I made a resolution to pray just 10 or 15 minutes every day. And that transformed. This was for Lent. Transformed my life. So it was not dramatic like last night. I was just in my basement and just praying. And these words came to me. They're going to sound complicated, but it's essential for later in the story, so I'm going to tell you them. So this phrase came to my head, and I was like, wow, I know what I'm going to do with my life. And the words came, to permeate God's love and liberating truth to the world. Okay, it sounds complicated, but just because of 2 words. So permeate means spread out like water. So I wanted God's love and truth to spread out through me to the world. And I knew this is like God's idea, not mine. And then the word liberating was very important because I was working at this restaurant. I don't know if UK restaurants are the same as American restaurants, but often in restaurants there's these crazy people working there who are like finding happiness in all the wrong places, and then they come to work pretending like their lives are so amazing and so fulfilling, but you can look into their eyes and they're so empty and so miserable. So my heart was breaking for these work friends, and I was thinking, if they only knew Christ, if they only knew the truth would set them free. They just need Christ. So the phrase was to permeate God's love and liberating truth to the world. Okay, so fast forward, I went to college, and I met the Dominican sisters. 2 Dominican sisters from our community came to the campus, and I was immediately drawn to them. And I was like, they have something that I want, but I didn't know why. So I had a great time talking to them. Then I went to my dorm room, and I stalked them on the internet, as anyone would do. So the first phrase I saw when they came up on the screen was, "Our mission is to spread Christ to the world in a spirit of love and truth." And I was just like, how do they write what God told to my heart? And so immediately I knew I was going to enter. And that happened over and over again. I told the older girls yesterday that God works with our desires. And when I was 18 then, it was amazing because as my life with Christ was growing, I was recognizing what would truly make me happy, what would truly fulfill me. And as soon as I would identify one of these things, I would find them in the Dominican order. So the Lord was very generous in that way. And then I just want to close by saying He confirmed that by joy and peace. There were moments where I was wrestling with God and I wanted one thing, or I wanted to enter, but I had to wait or something like that. And we can tell that it's not just us when there's a deep, deep joy and a deep peace in our hearts when He's guiding the way. And He has not ceased giving that joy and peace. He's so generous. And I found that the more I give to Him, the more I surrender to Him, the more fulfilled I am, and the more free I feel. And it's such a blessing being a sister surrounded by so many other people who love God. And we have a real deep friendship in Christ that even the ocean can't separate from America.